Did you know that the very first memories precede our ability to talk? Our brain stores them as visual images. We call them preverbal or nonverbal experiences. In other words, it's our body that remembers. If those earliest memories are traumas, they remain inside us as sensations. So, preverbal trauma is trauma that can occur when a child experiences bad things at an age when he or she cannot speak yet. Trauma can even start in their womb. In this video, I will explain what happens with children and adults when they have experienced preverbal trauma. I will also talk about how we can treat it. So stay with me to the end and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content I publish every week. I'm a healthcare psychologist and therapist, and I make videos on psychology and mental health topics. Recent scientific studies support the notion that an early memory system exists. The most significant findings came from research on very young children with trauma from birth to 2 years old. This is a time when no verbal memory exists. Traumatized children from this group showed the presence of memory of their traumas in their play and other behaviors. They showed at least a part of their traumatic experiences. For example, a child who had been sexually abused from birth to 6 months played out in a daycare setting the exact details of her abuse when she was interviewed at 2 years 11 months. This was verified in photographs confiscated by the police. Trauma is about experiences that were considered overwhelming. There are many different types of situations that could have been traumatizing for a child. The impact of interferences such as prematurity, incubation, early separation, failures of breastfeeding, postpartum depression, and physical illness of mother or baby can be experienced as overwhelming by a child. In addition, there are negative experiences that are not clearly identifiable, such as chronic ear pain or stomach pain. These experiences also influence the parent-child interaction and affects the ability of a child to regulate emotions. But how would we recognize trauma effects by children? The memory of nonverbal trauma is taught in such a way that it can be triggered if a child has a similar experience. This trigger unconsciously reminds a child of his trauma. A child may suffer from impulsive or withdrawn behavior, excessive crying, sleeping, eating problems, or extreme anxiety in certain situations. For example, a newborn baby needs tube feeding for medical reasons, and the tube without anesthesia is pushed via his nose into his stomach. As a result, a child may become anxious every time his nose and mouth is touched because it triggers this unpleasant experience in the hospital. So a child may show resistance by brushing teeth, bottle feeding, washing his face, and so on. A preverbal trauma often has a big impact as it arises at a crucial moment in development, at the moment when the attachment relationship between parent and child is built. This affects the behavior of a child towards parents. For example, a child who was always close with his parents is now avoiding them. Trauma can cause stagnation in development because a child is now afraid of being challenged by new things. That's why it is so important to understand as early as possible the connection between a child's behavior and the underlying trauma, so the child can get the right help. It's in particular important to pay attention to trouble with emotional regulation. Memories of traumatic events are preverbal and therefore not on a conscious level accessible. They are easily overlooked. Men can even misdiagnose ADHD and autism. If preverbal trauma is unresolved, these past experiences can cause psychological issues in adulthood. As a result, somebody can be haunted by a past which he barely remembers. That's why preverbal trauma can be difficult to detect. It is possible that people have already tried different treatments for their depressive symptoms, anxiety, emotion regulation problems, or stress and trauma-related symptoms, but without much success. Some people do not even meet the post-traumatic stress diagnosis because they have no trauma memories or flashbacks, but on some level people may sense it affects them deeply. It's like a piece of the puzzle which remains missing. Preverbal trauma is not a separate diagnosis, but this term gives the understanding of the underlying core of the problem. And this understanding has implications for therapy. Early trauma and neglect are held in the right hemisphere of the brain, which is associated with body sensations. Here, unconscious, nonverbal and relational memories are held. That is why people experience somatic symptoms like something overwhelming that locked in their bodies. For example, somebody may live with physical tension, pain, and chronic fatigue, or struggle with emotional weight, worry, feeling deep-seated shame, and feeling isolated. People often notice physical feelings like nausea, numbness, or disconnection from the environment when preverbal trauma memories arise. So it's not surprising that talk therapy alone is not enough to repair such early injuries. The treatment of preverbal trauma is not new. The psychoanalytic movement has already paid extensive attention to this. Therapy involves working with any present symptoms of anxiety, panic attacks, dissociation, or somatic distress. Healing requires the careful guidance of a therapist who is trained in complex and preverbal trauma. EMDR is one of the effective therapies. EMDR will take more time than usual, and a fine-tuned approach will be necessary. In many cases, it's not possible just to start with EMDR. The imprint left on the body simply stays until it's corrected. A person often needs help to realize what a healthy nervous system response is and isn't. A qualified somatic therapist can help get in touch with sensations and bodily reactions linked to preverbal trauma. Bodily awareness helps locate and stabilize the preverbal memories stored in the body. Part of the therapy process involves learning grounding skills or cognitive behavioral skills in order to help redirect thoughts away from distressing feelings. Mindfulness, relaxation, self-hypnosis, or even yoga can facilitate the connection with one's inner part of self. Healing will come as a person learns how to meet their inner unmet needs from infancy. development of self-compassion and acceptance is key to recovery. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell before you go. But also give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to express your thoughts in the comments down below or on my Facebook or Instagram pages. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.